Microclimates, that's a big issue in a backyard. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and I've had 4 different homes during that time. And the best thing I ever did was to spend time getting familiar with the conditions on the site. Like where I'm at now, the land slopes gently down to the back of the property, which is facing the north, and then takes a little bit of a steeper slope, about a 30-degree slope in the back, which is maybe about like this. I was really worried about that when I first moved here. What was I going to plant in that space? I thought it's almost useless. Is it going to get enough shade? What's the microclimate like? But I spent time in that little area. I put a fence up, and you can see it behind me. And I found that over a couple of winters with my little outdoor thermometer, that the temperature in that little gully, the air in the winter would come down the little slope and get trapped between the bottom of the slope and the back of the fence. So anything I planted there was going to experience a microclimate that was about 10 degrees on average cooler than the rest of the property. So, that tells me something very significant about the type of plants I need to put there. Also drainage. Everything in the property drains towards the back. So I know that I'm going to get a lot of soil saturation in the backyard. That's been true. And that's been great for the plants. So I, over time, have tended to move all my plants and plant any new plants along the back fence at the bottom of that slope, running about 200 feet in length, which is great. So I really have kind of a linear garden or linear orchard starting to develop back here. One which great for dormancy in the winter, keeps everything undisturbed, and constant temperature, constant moisture from the slope above, including runoff from the house roof and the gutters. Very well protected from the sun because the angle is facing this way away from the sun. It's not getting scorched. A thing called the sun angle. If it was going the other way and we're in July, that sun's hitting it at almost a 90-degree angle here in the Carolinas. Torches those plants. It causes a lot of damage really fast, especially if you have fruit on the trees. That's why they sell that shade material. But with that slope going this way against the sun, the top of the trees and the fruit still get a nice sun. The slope and the roots don't heat up. They don't get damaged. There's not as much reflective heat. And I really wouldn't have thought about that. Was actually against my first instinct, even as a landscape architect. But after spending a couple of seasons out here and getting to know the land, it made perfect sense. So it's really guided my design as I move forward. One thing I did really good and really bad, because as a landscape architect, I would always start drawing my plans and ideals out on yellow trash paper, draw some sketching on it, and then lay another layer on top of another layer. So you can have 3 or 4 layers of this trash on top of each other and kind of doodle on it and adjust your designs, move things around. I knew AutoCAD, so I put my entire plat for my house in AutoCAD to the T, got the county records, surveys, buffers, easements, utility lines. That's great to know, but you really don't need to write all that down on a drawing. Spend all that time. And you know what? Only about 10% of it ever got done, because once I started doing it myself in the yard, I realized that despite all that site prep and a site analysis is what we call it in the trade, it still wasn't the best design. I could do better by being out there on the ground, experiencing the conditions, the little shaded areas that might get moist you not even know about. And if I were doing it again at the age of, in my early 20s, I wouldn't waste that time. I get a little sketchbook, a little pencil, sketch out a few ideals and notes as I went along, and let that serve as my guide. But mostly I just let the creativity God gave me be my guide the majority of the time. I'd also let little happy accidents happen. Bob Ross, the painter, he's really good at that. He lets things come along and just lets nature take its course. I would do the same more than I did in the past. I would just experiment with a lot of different plants, kind of experiment with the conditions on your site. Well, I hope this video has been a little help to you, kind of introduce me and kind of how I do things. And I hope some of the things I've learned over the last 25 years will help you keep from making the same mistakes. I just encourage you to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please leave notes in the comments. Check out the links we have down there. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great day, and that you're with your family. You had the chance to go to church this morning, worship the Lord. Have a wonderful day.